Today, we're going to be talking about numbers to 10,000. This is lesson number 3, and we're going to be comparing another numbers. The learning objectives for today are I can use base 10, place value charts, and number lines to compare another numbers. And the next one is going to be I can look for a pattern to complete a number sequence. So let's remember about the symbols we use to compare. Usually, when we compare numbers, we have a big number and a small number. And I'm going to use these skewers to show you how we play with the symbols. So if I put these skewers touching the edges of the big pin and the little pin, you're going to notice that they're making the first symbol we use in math. So the symbol looks like this. And we start reading from the left to the right. So the first one that we see is the greatest, and then we see the least. So this is called greater than. Now, sometimes we have the opposite. We have first the little number, the last number, and then we have the greatest number. And if we do the skewers again, we're going to notice that they're going to form the symbol we use in math. So if you notice, it's the opposite. The pointy part is in the small pin, and the open part is in the greatest pin. So this is the symbol that is forming now. And again, we read from the left to the right. And because the smallest number is here, the number pin is here, this is going to be called less than. And finally, the last symbol is when we have two pins that are the same size. If we put the skewers again, we're going to notice they make the other symbol we're missing. Because they are the same size, they don't get together in any of the sides. They keep the same distance. So this is the equal symbol. And this is called equals to. Now let's do that. Let's see the same thing, but in a math setting. Just to sum it up, when we're comparing numbers, these are the symbols greater than, less than, and equal to. And you can use this chart as a reference if you forget how the symbols go. GR go to the right. That means the greatest part is in the right, and you read this one greater than. And we have some examples here, like 45 is greater than 23, or 67 is greater than 50. In the other case is less than. The L stands for left, and you know that the pointy part is in the left. You start reading from this point, and then we have 28 is less than 40, and 54 is less than 70. Now let's use the base 10 blocks to compare these two numbers, 2,138 and 2,358. So let's see which one is greater. The first number we have, according to this chart, is 2,138, and the second number we have is 2,358. Now, once we build the numbers, let's start comparing in this place value chart. Hold on a second. Okay, now we have those numbers here. And we have those numbers here. The first thing we have to do is always compare the thousands first. So when I put the thousands, they are the same. So that means I'm not going to count them. Now, the second numbers we have are the hundreds, and we notice that we have 3 hundreds. Now, at this point, I can tell just because the hundreds are more, they're not equal as the thousands were, that means that this is going to be my greatest number. Why? Because I have 300s instead of 1. And the rest, even though the 8 may be the same as the 8 ones, or the 5 tens may be more than the 3 tens, it doesn't matter because we're going to stop right in the hundreds. We're going to see another case in a few minutes. So I can tell here that 2,358 is greater than 2,138. We can write it with words too. We can tell that 2,358 is greater than 2,138. Now let's check, let's go back to our chart to see the next part. Here we can see that the thousands, let me go back. The thousands are the same, right? I have 1,000, 2,000, 1,000, 2,000. So because they are the same, we won't look at those. Now let's look at the hundreds. We have 1 here and we have 1, 2, and 3. Now because of that, the 300 is going to make the number greater than the other one. So now I can write my answer here. I know 2,358 is greater than 2,138 because 2,358 has more hundreds because 2,358 has more hundreds than 2,138. When we place the numbers in our place value chart, we can compare them to and even faster than making the pictures. So again, if we have the twos the same, we won't look at the thousands and we'll look for the 3, which is the greatest, which is going to make that one the greatest number. So let's look at this other problem. Now we're going to compare and order these numbers, which is greater, 3,051 or 2,324. Now, here says compare the thousands, 3,000s are greater than 2,000s, which is true because when we come here, we can see right away that we have 3,000s here and we have 2,000s here. Now, at that point, we have to stop because we're looking for the greater number and we usually look first at the thousands. And if this one has the greatest thousands, this is going to be my greatest number. So if you notice here, in the sentences, 3,051 is greater than 2,324 because we can see right away that 3,000 is more. So the symbol is 3,051 is greater than 2,324. Now let's look for the next problem. Okay, now let's look at this number. And the same, we have the same sentence, compare and order the numbers. Now, this time is which one is less, 2,870 or 2,456. Now watch out, sometimes you can get a little bit distracted by the based on blocks and you can get tricked. So remember, the first thing we need to do is to check and how many thousands do I have now. This time we're looking for the less. Who has less? So this one has 2,000s, this one has 2,000s. So they are the same. Because they are the same, I won't look at these two numbers for now. Now I'm still looking for the less. And I can see here, I can see now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 800. So this one is going to be 800. And this one is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 400. Now we can see now, at this point, we're going to stop. It doesn't matter how many tens are now or how many ones, because we're going to stop right here in the hundreds in this case. 800 is more and 400 is less. So because they're asking which one is the less, this is going to be the answer to my problem. So here says first compare the thousands, and the thousands are equal. Next, compare the hundreds. 400s are less than 800s. So 2,456 is less than 2,870. And with symbols, it's the same thing. 2,456 is less than 2,870. Now let's keep comparing numbers. This time we have to compare and order the numbers. So is 3,807 greater than 3,870? And why? So let's place those numbers in our place value chart. Let me put the first one, 3,807, compared with 3,870. Now I notice I have the same digits. Let's start comparing. We're looking from greater. If this one is greater, is this number greater than this one? And let's see. So the two of them have 3 and 3. So these numbers are equal, so I won't look at those. The next one are still the same numbers, 800s and 800s. So the two are equal, so I won't look at those. And this is when I'm going to define which one is the greatest and which one is the least. Now, out of the 7 and the 0, the 7 is the greatest number. Now, I don't need to see at the ones because the tens is telling me which one is the greatest. So this number is the greatest. And so it happens to be the 3,870. So this sentence is not right because here is telling that this is the greatest number, 3,870. So this is the least. Let me write it down. This is the least, the less number I mean, and this is the greater. So this is opposite. I'm going to cross greater than because actually this number is less. So 3,000, let me do it with symbols, 3,807 is less than 3,870. Now, let's compare these numbers from the least to the greatest. Okay, so let's look at the first number. We have 2,389. We have 3,001 and 3,010. So let's compare which one is from the least to the greatest. So the first thing we have to do is to find the least number. When I notice, remember, we have to start here in the thousands place. And if I'm looking for the least number, which is the smallest number, I have 1. The number 2 is the least number. Now, because I already found that the 2 is the least number, I know that that's going to be the least because 2,000 is less than 3,000. So I'm going to put that number here, 2,389. That was the least. So this number is out of the game. Now we have these two. These two numbers are equal, so they won't count anymore. Now let's move to the hundreds. Now the 3 is not in play anymore because the 2,389, we already use it, and this number being the least goes here. Now let's find the greatest, so we put it in the last spot, and the one left is going to be in the middle. Now let's look at the hundreds. The hundreds, they are equal. Oops, they're equal. So they won't play anymore. Now let's look for the tens. Now the tens makes the difference because the tens I have a 0, so that means this is less and this is more. And because of that, I don't have to look at the ones anymore. I stop there because the tens are making the difference. So that means that the 1 makes this number the greatest because these are the same numbers and this is the greatest. So the 3,010 is going to become the greatest number And 3001 is going to become the middle number. So now my numbers are organized from the least to the greatest. B in the list, 2389. The second number is 3001. And the greatest number is going to be 3010. So let's review that again. We have the numbers in a place value chart and we're looking for the least to greatest number. So this is what we're trying to do, from the least to the greatest. So what you do is, like, first you compare the thousands. So 2000s are less than 3000. So 2389 is the least number. Then we'll compare the hundreds place, which they're equal in size. So we move to the next, to the tens. And in the tens, we have to compare the tens. 110 is greater than 0 tenths. So 3010 is the greatest number. Now the sentences are here again. From the least to the greatest, the numbers are 2389. That's the least. And the greatest is 3010. The number in the middle is going to be 3001. Now, this time, let's go and practice the same in a number line. And now we have to find this. We're going to mark an X in the number 2347 and 2342 on this number line that we have here. Now, if you notice, we have here the 2340, then in the middle we have 2345, and then we have 2350. Now the first one that we have to find is what we call the pattern. And I notice that counting by fives is going to be plus 5, because 2340 plus 5 makes 2345. Plus 5 is going to make 2350. So to find the numbers here, we have to make sure that we divide it and find the missing numbers here. So we have to divide the line, try to make it as equal as we can. And then we're going to see that we are counting by one. So this is going to be 3,340, 2,341, 2,342. So here is going to be my number. This number here, I'm going to call it A, is going to be here in A. Now let me find the other one. Now I'm looking for 2,347. So if this is 45, this is 2,346, and this is 2,347. Now that's the one I'm looking. I'm going to call this point B at this time, and this is going to be point B. So if you notice, I have to find the numbers in my number line so I can locate which one is greater. Now, if you are closer to this side here, this is going to be less. And if you are in this side here, you're going to be a greater. So because of the order in the number line, I can tell that here says which number is greater, this one. So I'm going to put it here, 2,347, that's greater. And then this number here is going to be the least, which is 2,342. And remember, these two are the same. The 2000s are the same, the 200s are the same, the tens are the same. So we look on the ones place. So this is less, the 2 is less, and the 7 is more. So now we have our answer. 2,347 is greater than 2,342. Now let's solve this problem. Compare and order using a number line. You can use a number line to compare numbers. Which is less, 9,748 or 9,745? So let's use the number line to find the answer. So the first thing I have to know is the pattern. When you look at the numbers, from this number to this number, I'm adding plus 1 because 9,740 plus 1 makes 9,741. And the pattern keeps on going on, plus 1, plus 1, plus 1. So my pattern is plus 1. Now let's look at the numbers. This number here is first. This number is first, which means it's less. And this number is second, which means it's greater. Because in this side, the numbers, when you go to this side, the numbers become smaller. And when you go to the opposite side, they become greater. So we can tell that 9,745 is less than 9,748. And with symbols, we have the same. 9,745 is less than 9,748. Now let's look at the new problem we have here. Again, we're going to order the numbers, and this time we're looking for the greater number. So we're looking for the greater number between 6,820 or 6,870. Now remember, the first thing we need to find is what's the pattern. When I look from 6,800 to 6,810, we're adding 10 plus 10 and so forth. So you see the pattern, I'm going to look at the tens because it's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and watch out, from 800 and 10 more is going to make 900 now. Now remember, on this side, the numbers are smaller, so that's going to make that this number here is going to be the least or the less, and this number here is going to be greater because of the position in the number line. Now, we can say that the pattern was plus 10, and so we can tell that 6,870 is greater, see, it's greater, oops, let me go back. Okay, it's greater than 6,820, which is here. So, and we have the same with the symbol greater than. Now let's find and let's solve another problem, but this time we're going to be using the number line again, and we're going to order these numbers that we have here, 3,800, 2,900, 3,300, from the greatest to the least. So if you notice the numbers, we have them here, the same numbers. But the first thing we need to know is what the pattern is. So if you notice, from 2,000, they skip to 3,000, and then they go to 4,000, and we have some numbers in between. So we are going to be counting by hundreds. So it's plus 100, you get here. Plus 100, you get here. So this is going to be 2,100, 2,200, 2,300, 2,400, and so on until you get to 2,900. So watch out, because sometimes you have to complete the pattern and you have to be counting. If I'm counting by 100, so 3,000 plus 100, if you don't know how to do it, you add it. 3,000 plus 100, and then you can figure out the next number, 0, 0, 1, and 3. So that's the number that goes here, 3,100, plus another 100, 0, 0, 2, and 3, makes 3,200. And I can keep adding and adding. So if you don't know how to get the numbers that are missing here, you need to start adding by the pattern, and you just make sure that you get to the same numbers you have in the number line. So from greatest to least, the numbers are 3,800, 3,300, and 2,900. Remember, this is the greatest and this is the least number.